Hi, this is Jesse Johnson from LTI Solutions, joined today by RJ Grimshaw, President of Unify Equipment Finance. Thanks for joining me today, RJ.
Hey Jesse, how are
Appreciate your
you
time.
doing? Glad to.
Just wanted to take a couple minutes here and just kind of talk about kind of the recent things that have been going on, pandemic, industry related. I consider you an industry leader. You've been, I guess, in equipment leasing longer than I've been, which is only 15 years. However, just kind of wanted to talk real quick, let our audience know kind of what you've been dealing with, over the last few months here. So I guess at a high level perspective here, if you just want to just tell us real quick regarding your journey. I believe I met you when you were back at Key at some industry events, which we all go to. But when you took over being the president of Unify, I guess Urban Leasing, it's been about 7 years. Tell us that story, if you don't mind, because I know it wasn't an already established organization, so you already had a culture. I will be quiet here and let you kind of tell your story, but I'm just kind of curious to see if you could just kind of tell, the people regarding your journey.
Yeah. So one, again, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be able to participate and have this conversation. And it is an interesting story in regards to how I ended up here in Ann Arbor as the second president CEO for Unify Equipment Finance, formerly known as Urban Leasing, which was a well-established, still is a well-established. We still are in the top 100 in the Monitor, but it was a small ticket leasing company started in 1978 to really serve small businesses across the country. And the team that I was able to join in 2013 had very seasoned, long tenured employees, which you don't see in the world that we all live in today. And that was very attractive to me, to be able to walk into an organization and have the founder, president still there, director of operations still in place, credit people still in place, salesperson, salespeople still in place. It just spoke a lot about the culture and family culture of everyone being like-minded and trying to accomplish a goal. And I was at Everbank at the time, very surrounded by great people, successful, but I really viewed this as a great opportunity to push myself in terms of a new opportunity and broaden my horizon. And it's amazing how much I've learned over the last 7 years and continue to learn on a daily basis, specifically now in the world that we live in relative to this pandemic that started back in February or March. But back to when I first arrived here, it was really just an organization that needed energy, passion, and that's what we brought. And we were fortunate enough to have our parent, Bank of Ann Arbor, make a significant investment, one in human capital, and that's myself and people that have joined the organization since then, rebranding to Unify Equipment Finance. And as you know, you've gone through rebranding exercises. There's an investment of time and dollars. And then also in technology, we invested with Lease Team. That was one of our first major purchases relative to the platform to run the business. And we are a smaller organization, so when you take time to do due diligence and things of that nature, it is a significant stepping stone and then growth. So you put that in place in terms of the investment, the people, and now we have to grow to give our parent bank a return on their investment, which we were able to do in a year and a half. And we grew originations from 13 million to 36 million to 75 million to 80 million, and a balance sheet now of close to 170 million, roughly. So, but it takes a team, and it's every single person on the team. We've been very fortunate to be able to hire great people and really join the synergies of people who are here, part of Urban, and then Unify. Our longest employee's been with the company, Doug Jones, who was the longest. He just retired in February. He was with the organization 40 plus years. We have other people part of the organization 26, 27, 30 years, which is unheard of to be with one company for that long. It just shows the level of passion, not so much the passion of Unify, but the passion of helping small business owners. And that's our daily mission on a daily basis, to ensure that we help small to medium-sized businesses acquire the equipment that they need to run efficiently. So.
No, and that's a great point. And, that was one of the things where 10 years ago, when I made my shift in my career, what excited me about with Lease Team at the time, right? They had that long tenure that, like you said, you traditionally don't find in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I believe during the part of the sales cycle, we were up there with you guys when you guys were looking at Aspire. You could definitely understand they had the team. They just kind of needed that fire. And I can definitely say that you've kind of ignited them and grown quite the culture. You've been great enough to invite me to some of your company outings, and there's definitely that sense of the camaraderie, but you've definitely built a cohesive team there. And I'm guessing that's definitely a foundation for success, especially right now with what we're dealing with.
And I can't take the credit for that. The team built the culture. I just was trying to be out in front of it and direct it a little bit. But at the end of the day, any organization, the culture is driven by the people that are in the team in the organization on a daily basis. They drive the culture. It's not the CEO leader. Now they might start it, but on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, annual basis, it's those people that are in the organization that believe in the organization, believe in the mission, believe in what you're trying to accomplish, that carry that culture and drive that culture. And in the world we live in today, and I've said this several times on different podcasts and meetings, that it really has shown the amazing culture and the amazing work ethic that we have on our team now that 75% of our folks are remote, as well as the 25% that go into the office on a daily basis. But because what we want to ensure is everyone's safety in regards to the pandemic, and we had to pivot extremely quick. And we've had 6 really incredible months from a operating perspective. And it hasn't been easy. I'm not going to kid you and say, oh, it's been easy. We've talked about a lot of the things that are challenging in terms of Zoom calls and how you foster your culture, as well as from a leadership perspective. I've taken a stance, and I've taken a stance over the last 6 months where the first couple months, it wasn't the high energy RJ out leading, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It was uncertainty.
Right.
And my uncertainty and your uncertainty is probably completely different to uncertainty of a mom and dad who have 3 young children at home under the age of 7, and now they're worrying about schooling and daycare. And it's just amazing how some of our team that I've witnessed just rally and continue to step up and serve our customers.
No, that's fantastic. And that was, you already pivoted to where I was thinking about going here. So as far as like employee morale, like I said, I've been around your team. I know the people pretty well. What is this I'm assuming you guys are probably not at full capacity in an office yet. What has that done to those relationships there? And then as a leader, what do you do to kind of foster those relationships to make sure they keep going?
What I've done here at Unify is I've really empowered the managers within the team to keep that going. And the reason being is that I thought it was an opportunity to really have the managers step up and foster those relationships and really run their businesses within the overall business. And as you know, I'm a true believer in a term by the name of entrepreneurship, which means that you are running your own business within the business. So I have empowered probably more so than I ever have when I was in an office surrounded by everyone on a daily basis. It was extremely easy to walk into RJ's office for his opinion, right? So
you're not shy, and you're not shy to give your opinion either.
I am not shy to give my opinion. That's the way I'm wired. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's who I am. So what I did is I pivoted myself, a little bit of self-awareness, and said, okay, it's now time to allow the managers to run their teams within the organization more so than we ever have. And again, it's been absolutely amazing, especially around portfolio services, because that's where we immediately pivoted to in the end of February and March, because we knew we estimated that we believe that 50 to 60% of our portfolio would be affected by this event. Now, fortunately enough, we peaked at 32% of our portfolio being affected around deferments. and now we're down to 1% that's asked for a second deferment. So it speaks volumes. And we put a plan in place early on in March that we wanted to ensure that we were very proactive when we received the phone calls. Our managers wrote scripts and things of that nature to ensure that the small business owner in uncertain times felt that they had certainty with Unify Equipment Finance, that we picked up the phone, we ensured that we would work with them, which we did, and we continue to do so. But to answer your question specifically, to drive the culture, I've really have been hands off to a certain degree and allowed the managers to drive the culture within the company. Example of that is if they want to go off site and have lunch with their folks, they're welcome to. We started a little group on Wednesday evenings that we get together, and we don't talk business. We just get together and go to dinner. And we allow someone to pick the dinner location, and we have a cocktail, we have dinner, and that's it. But it's just that human interaction that so many people need. But it wasn't a time I felt to be laying out missions, goals, objectives with the uncertainty. Now, I believe we're starting to pivot out of that, and most organizations are starting now to do their 2021 planning, 2022 planning. It's very challenging because I don't think we're out of it, but we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel in order to do that.
No, and that's, looking at you as a leader, the empathy that you show for your coworkers is very powerful. And like you said there, right? It's like not forcing directives down them, but kind of understanding what they're going through and then allowing their managers to do it. I think that's very powerful.
Well, I seek that feedback from the managers. So when we meet weekly, and when we meet, it's what can I do to serve the organization is the question. What more communication, less communication, things of that nature. And it's a fine line because you want to do the right thing, but you can't please the masses. So, but they're providing that feedback on a weekly basis. And a lot of times early on, the feedback was more communication. And I was very honest with them. And I said, I'm not sure what to communicate. I don't want to communicate the incorrect thing because as we were growing, sometimes that did happen. And I'm the full ownership of that. We were going to go this direction, and all of a sudden we pivoted and went another direction. And the feedback to me was, well, you said we were going to go this way, but we went this way. So what I didn't want to do, because it was so not certain, I didn't want to do that. And so I actually curtailed my messaging to the organization, and now I do it once a month after the closing of the month in terms of where we stand and how we're doing or any important information. But we're a small company. Again, it's an open book. If someone wants to call me or text me or what have you, we're not a layers and things of that nature.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, to say that the situations continue to remain fluid, I guess, is an understatement because who really knows sometimes. And, I think that approach is very strong. And at the end of the day, I think your managers and more importantly, the people underneath them respect that more. So, so I guess while we're on the whole pandemic conversation, you're the face of Unify. We have a few faces of LTI that are going to conferences, and I guess I consider myself one of them. So shifting to Zoom meetings like this, I can say based on my experience when this thing started in March, you pull up your computer and, you have your little webcam up here and typically there's a piece of tape over it, right? Because you just, I'm on my computer, I just don't really want to be bothered. So I guess for the first probably 4 to, I don't know, maybe in the first couple months, the resistance of, being camera ready every time. I've been a remote employee. I live in Arizona, so at 6 a.m. this morning, you were already, getting your day going at 9 a.m. So it's, do I want to turn my camera on that early, or am I just kind of fingers crossed that maybe the customer or potential customer won't turn theirs on? So in having that conversation, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you believe that, you need to have your camera on for all meetings?
It's interesting because at the Bank of Ann Arbor, we actually have our phones internally have video capabilities. So if you were calling someone within the bank, you would actually see them and be able to talk to them. And
Is that on the actual phone itself?
it's a Cisco phone. It's actually a screen on the phone
That's cool.
itself.
That's cool.
And so I believe that it actually helped our organization because we were somewhat accustomed to when you're on the phone with someone or speakerphone, you were actually looking at them so you could see the emotions and things of that nature. But the people, and there was some people that would have their camera facing up or turned off and were never on camera. But in the same respect, they didn't need to be. If they're operations or what have you, they didn't. So to answer your question specifically, I think it just continues to evolve. I think that people that are becoming more and more comfortable in terms of camera use, it definitely is difficult to look at yourself when you're talking more than anything else. But as long as I think to answer your question specifically, I think that it's extremely valuable. How do you develop a sales process around that? How do you develop a build culture and build a relationship? I think that it continues to evolve, and I don't have the answers for that. It's really just so you should be mirroring your customer. If your customer is on camera, you should be on camera. If your customer doesn't feel comfortable on camera, but you still want to be on camera, I think that's a positive because you're showing your emotion. You're showing they can look at you if they want to, and you can speak. As you can tell, I'm very I talk with my hands a lot and things of that nature.
Yeah, it happens. I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah. So, but I think that it continues to evolve. I actually probably think there's a business model someday out there of teaching people how to sell via Zoom. Because at the end of the day, if anything, this has shown us that you can maintain a business, you can maintain relationships and grow relationships without going on site. Now, do I see value in that? No. But I think there is an opportunity to be able to build your business and grow your business, especially for organizations like ours that are smaller, where we could do a video call and things of that nature. Then the other thing is the screen sharing. You can share documents and things of that nature online versus in person. You're not sure if they're engaged. So it's a different world, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a positive influence, especially if you bought Zoom stock when it first back in February. It'd be a real positive experience for you because the stock continues to skyrocket.
Yeah, and I think it's just the diversity of what this does to sales processes in the future in regards to, what was it traditionally say, hey, I got someone who's interested, let's go see him. And it's like, was that really a good opportunity? Let's see if we can flush it out on Zoom. So then when you're making that investment in time flying or traveling or getting in front of somebody, I think it flushes that out too. And I think it only makes it better. However, the challenge that I have, it's like, how do you be unique? It's easy to be unique when you're in front of somebody. What makes you stand out or pop on this as opposed to, I want to block looking at myself just because I'm tired of it.
Right.
But like what I found that was beneficial is one of the recent deals that I sold, the lady was just like, so did I hear that you're making cheese? And I know this sounds kind of corny. And I was like, sure, let me FaceTime you next time I'm doing it to show you how easy it is. Then, like how powerful is that? I mean, but it is opening yourself up and,
you have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable and willing to put yourself out there. But I want to reiterate on a point that you made early on that I think is extremely valuable for all salespeople and all CEOs and VP of sales and things of that nature. What this event has done for us is it's allowed us to screen and validate before you make that significant investment. Because before you get at the end of the day, you get on an airplane, hotel, travel, entertainment, meals. It doesn't matter where you go in the country, it's $2,000 most likely, if not more. Okay. So if you can vet some of that out beforehand, now what it does for you is you can actually spend more time on people that you've run through your filter that are a good match for your organization before wasting time. And I'm not even speaking of man hours on the travel. I'm just speaking of the actual costs for travel. So I think it's a positive. more than it is a negative. And when you do things like you're doing in terms of, hey, let me FaceTime you and show you how we do this and things that's the cool piece of it. So
Yeah, exactly here. So I hear you're going to be moderating a session coming up in the ELFA Business Live. Kind of last thing I want to talk about today. You just want to tell us a little bit about that session, if you don't mind, RJ?
I've been asked to moderate a session in regards to developing emerging talent. And in the world we live in, it's from a 2020 perspective. So that there's a lot right there to chew on.
Right.
And some of the topics we've already talked about is how do you develop that culture within an organization through virtual employees and best practices around that. And really what we want to do is hear from the attendees of what they're looking for that leaders can bring back to their organization. Another topic is, the financial burdens of here I'm going to date ourselves, of that next generation coming through our industry, that 25 to 35-year-old, and the challenges that they have in terms of education debt, opportunities in the marketplace, and have that topic. And then the whole topic around, social injustice and racial injustice. And that's a significant topic that is really valuable to discuss. So I'm excited. The people that I'm working with, again, emerging talent. So they're the future for the ELFA. And what I don't want to have happen, which I did see happen, and you probably saw, and a lot of people saw back in 08, 09, we lost a lot of talented people from our industry that went into other industries. And we can't see that. If that happens again here, and we lose that 25 to 35-year-old, that hinders our industry as a whole, because the value that they bring, especially now with technology and in the world we live in, we have to figure out a way how to foster them to ensure that they stay in our industry. Unlike when you and I got in the industry, the joke was, well, we pulled you in, you're not getting out. I got out for a year and I came right back. I went into banking for a full year, ran a commercial lending team, and I immediately knew I wanted to get back into equipment financing, specifically vendor equipment financing. So I'm very excited. It's going to be interesting. When I've moderated before, sat on panels, of course, you're in a room, you have the energy of the room. You're able to feed off of that. You're able to see the attendees and have that dialogue. So that's one of the main focuses, to ensure that we're able to do that during this.
Well, now you can just stare at yourself for, an hour and a half.
Well, it's more the engagement. So it's going to be interesting. I applaud the ELFA, what they're doing in terms of just canceling the conference and trying to do something that's different. The downside of that is that's the annual is what everyone looks forward to. You get to see everyone. You get to talk about families and how things are going and spend time together. And that's not going to happen this year. So this is the next best thing to that, which is a lot of value that the ELFA, again, is pivoting and trying to create different things to in order to keep us together as an organization. And the other positive is, because of the cost now is much lower, we're going to have more people attend than we ever have. So
I was trying to do that math the other day, and for 10 people to attend, I think it's $5,000.
Yeah,
I mean, for you or me to fly down there with the cost to attend, hotel, meals, that's a wash, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can get 10 people there for the cost of what it had to one person on site. And I agree with you. A virtual happy hour, that's going to be very interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how that plays itself out.
But they're trying to be different. They're trying to be creative.
Oh, no, I get it.
And I applaud, I applaud them for doing that. And you're right, the cost associated from a small company perspective. And I always told Ralph this, coming from a small company with a limited capital budget, we want to invest in our employees. We want to invest in the CLFP. We want to have people attend these events, and we want to support the ELFA. But there becomes a fine line between the return of investment of attending in person. You just have to manage it. But I think it's going to be exciting, and we'll see how it goes.
Excellent. Little fun fact here. I think you and I grew up, 90 minutes from one another in
We did.
upstate New York. So just in case no one else knew that,
Yeah,
throw
good
it out
old
there.
good old Oswego, New York. Ralph is actually from Syracuse, so he's very familiar with Oswego. And my youngest son is actually back there now attending college at Oswego State to play hockey. So it's somewhat full circle for us to uh, have someone living back in upstate New York.
It's good. It's good. It's been a few years since I've been back there. So, all right, RJ. Well, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you virtually in the ELFA conference, man.
All right,
Have a good one.
appreciate you having me, Jesse, and hopefully people found this of value.
Thank you, RJ.
All right, bye-bye.